Right, so let's kick off this explainer by acknowledging a simple, unavoidable truth about human nature. You tell us not to open a door? Well, suddenly it's literally the only thing we want to do. It becomes this irresistible itch. But as we're going to see, throughout human history, there are certain barriers that were put up for very, very good reasons. Today, we are going on a global tour of 5 mysteriously sealed locations. We're digging into the fascinating history, the chilling lore, and honestly, the very real dangers that keep these doors firmly locked up to this day. But before we get into it, I want you to ask yourself a question. Just how much are we actually willing to risk simply to know what's hiding in the dark?
Number 1. The Great Sphinx of Giza, Egypt's ancient guardian.
So, we start our journey with a monument that absolutely everyone recognizes, but honestly, very few truly understand. I mean, millions of tourists show up every year to marvel at this majestic, solid limestone exterior. But researchers have discovered a completely different reality hidden away from the public. Deep inside, and directly beneath the Sphinx, there are secret cavities, tunnels, and sealed subterranean doors that are strictly off-limits. Now, the most famous legend surrounding these blocked-off tunnels is the Hall of Records. It's this mythical underground library that supposedly contains the lost history of Atlantis and maybe even the origins of humanity itself. Sounds amazing, right? But here's the catch. Authorities and archaeologists firmly restrict any access to these hidden areas to preserve the structural integrity of the ancient monument. So any answers about this Hall of Records? Yeah, they remain permanently buried in the dark. Let's move on to our next location and see how this concept builds into something entirely different. Like, what happens when you're dealing with something way beyond just limestone and structural preservation? That question actually takes us from the sweeping sands of Egypt to a deeply spiritual epicenter down in Kerala, India. Number 2. Padmanabhaswamy Temple, The Secrets of Vaults B. Okay, so the Padmanabhaswamy Temple is this stunningly wealthy Hindu institution, and it houses 6 massive subterranean vaults. Over the years, 5 of these vaults were incredibly carefully opened, and they revealed an absolutely astonishing treasure trove. We're talking billions of dollars in gold, diamonds, priceless historical artifacts, the whole shebang. But the 6th one, known simply as Vault B, remains completely 100% untouched. And here is where it gets wild. The massive iron door protecting Vault B, it has absolutely no physical lock on it. There's no keyhole, no latch, nothing. Instead, it's said to be sealed by the Naga Bandhanam, which is a really powerful ancient binding ritual. The lore says this door is guarded by serpent deities, and to open it, you need this highly specific, flawless chant. Actually, scratch that, it's not just that you need the chant, it's that if you force it open mechanically, you're supposedly unleashing a catastrophic, fatal curse. And if that wasn't enough to give you chills, priests and visitors to the temple have claimed to hear some incredibly bizarre, terrifying noises echoing from right behind that heavy metal door. Some people report hearing the distinct, massive hissing of giant snakes. Others claim they can hear the roar of rushing ocean waves, almost as if there's a subterranean sea trapped right on the other side. So far, we've looked at ancient monuments and thousands of years of tradition. But what if the sealed door is somewhere a bit closer to home? Let's pivot from ancient temples to a secret hidden right inside a modern, bustling luxury resort. Number 3. The Banff Springs Hotel, walled off in the Canadian Rockies. Nestled up in Alberta, Canada, the Banff Springs Hotel is this gorgeous, picturesque luxury retreat. But if you take the elevator up to the 8th floor, you are going to notice something deeply unsettling. You can walk right past room 872, and you can walk right past room 874, but room 873? It has completely and entirely vanished from the hallway. I mean, talk about a permanent solution to bad hotel reviews, right? If you stand in that hallway today, all you're going to see is continuous, ordinary hotel wallpaper and baseboards. Just looks like a normal wall. But hidden directly behind that plaster is a truly horrific past. After the tragic murder of a family inside room 873, the guests who stayed there afterwards started reporting terrifying midnight cries. Even worse, they were finding ghostly fingerprints pressed onto the mirrors, fingerprints that the hotel staff supposedly could not wash away. The paranormal activity was so relentless that the hotel simply bricked the door shut, plastered right over it, and hid the room forever. So, from a walled-off hotel room in the Canadian Rockies, let's travel halfway across the globe to China to uncover what might legitimately be the most heavily guarded, dangerous tomb in all of human history. Number 4. Emperor Qin Shi Huang's tomb, a lethal underground empire. China's very first emperor built this sprawling underground necropolis guarded by the famous Terracotta Army. But here is the crazy thing. Despite discovering this site decades ago, the emperor's central tomb chamber has literally never been breached. Why? The sheer scale of its defenses. Ancient texts describe tension-triggered crossbows just waiting for intruders in the dark. But the absolute most terrifying defense? Literal flowing rivers of highly toxic liquid mercury. I mean, think about it. Why use a standard padlock when you can use a moat of poison? And the wildest part is that modern soil samples taken around the tomb have actually confirmed extremely dangerous levels of mercury contamination. So the absolutely crucial point here is that science and ancient folklore actually perfectly agree on this one. Opening this central tomb would be an absolute disaster. Not only could that toxic atmosphere and those potential traps severely harm the excavators, but suddenly exposing those ancient artifacts to modern air, it would instantly degrade and destroy them. The warning here is as real as it gets. For our final stop, we're returning to India, turning our attention to a monument that is globally celebrated for its stunning, immaculate beauty. It is the ultimate symbol of eternal love. But it also has doors that remain firmly, completely locked to the public. Number 5. The Taj Mahal, the locked riverfront basements. Look, the Taj Mahal is an undeniable masterpiece of architecture, right? A glowing white symbol of eternal love against the sky. But beneath that pristine marble facade, right at the base, alongside the Yamuna River, there's a long corridor containing 22 very mysterious basement rooms. These doors are heavily barred, they are securely locked by archaeological authorities, and they allow absolutely zero public access. And this situation perfectly illustrates the eternal tension between fact and fiction. On one hand, structural experts maintain a very sobering, official stance. They see these rooms lack ventilation, and if you expose these specific basements to outside air and moisture, it could literally weaken the foundations and cause the entire Taj Mahal to collapse. But on the other hand, wild rumors swirl constantly. People claim that these 22 rooms secretly contain hidden Hindu idols from a previous structure, or ancient spirits, or suppressed historical artifacts. I absolutely love this quote. By keeping these 22 doors heavily sealed, archaeologists are making a definitive tough choice. They are actively prioritizing the physical, structural survival of the monument over satisfying wild public curiosity. Because sometimes, the most important part of a building is the part you just aren't allowed to see. As we look at the anatomy of all these sealed doors, we really see a clear pattern emerge, from literal rivers of toxic mercury in China and supernatural snake spells in India, to structural collapse risks at the Taj Mahal and ghostly fingerprints in a Canadian hotel room. These 5 locations share a common thread. They command our absolute respect. They remind us, plain and simple, that not every mystery is meant to be solved. We've explored the history, the science, and the horrors behind these barricades today, but I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on. If you were the one holding the only key to these doors, would you actually use it? Or would you accept that when history intentionally builds a wall, perhaps it's best we don't tear it down? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and remember, keep questioning what's hidden just out of sight.